Hello and welcome to BQ Prime. A very good morning to all the viewers. I am Hiral Dadia. Rice companies are in focus as well, and this is on the back of the center who's gone ahead and imposed a 20% export duty, I beg your pardon, on parboiled rice, as well as it is said that there is an expectation that they would be notifying a minimum export price for basmati rice, which would be pegged at $1,200 a ton. Now, what would this actually mean for the industry? Taking the way prices are moving currently. Joining us on the show to discuss more is Ashwani Arora, MD and CEO at LT Foods, as well as Ashish Jain, CFO at KRBL. Good morning and welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ashwani, let me come to you first. First, let's discuss, what's the reason why the center is looking at imposing the export duty as well as the MEP that could be expected? Because everyone's talking about the increase in rice prices in the domestic market and a scare of lower supplies. What's your read?
So, setting up this MEP, what we have understood that, government wanted to, don't want to curb any basmati export. So they wanted to control that, under this umbrella, non-basmati should not go. So our understanding is that's how the government has imposed MEP on basmati. So as far as LT food is concerned, we are not impacted because most of our export goes, in our famous brands, which is Dawat and Royal, and that's aged rice. That's above than this MEP.
Right. So if you could, okay, Ashwini, I'll take your first comments as well. First, what do you make of this entire arrangement basis what the center is indicating on parboiled as well as the MEP?
So parboiled, as LT food is not in non-basmati business, but the idea is simple, that's a food security. They wanted to make sure that, as we have a sufficient stock to feed our own people. As next year, there is a forecast, there is a 5% deficit they are expecting in non-basmati sourcing. So they wanted to be, they ensure that, India has sufficient rice to feed in.
Right. Ashish, coming to you on the same, how are you looking at it and how does it impact a KRBL?
Yeah, so I agree with what Ashwini ji mentioned. I think this is coming on a background of avoiding any possible, food shortage in the country. And, if you look at Basmati, KRBL is, similar impact. So more than 95% of our Basmati export is anywhere above the MEP that has been set. So the overall impact on KRBL is going to be very limited. Number two, for the industry as a whole, of course, if you look at EPIDA data, the average realization per ton of basmati was around $1,100 in the month of June. So sure, so the average is below the 1,200 mark, but then we are really towards the end of the season. So basmati, as you know, is harvested between October and December. So the stocks peak in December and then the stocks start depleting. So this is the part of the year when more or less the majority of the exports have already happened. So from a timing point of view, minimal impact, but yes, the average currently for the industry is lower, but for KRBL, very, very limited impact.
Right. So currently, what's the retail rice price and how has it moved in the last 1 year, according to you, Ashish?
Yeah, so rice price, as you know, varies because there are a lot of varieties. But for the price trend in general, prices on a year-on-year basis have been up, and for various reasons. I think Ashwini ji mentioned about the global production, and that is our view as well. That if you look at the bodies that track global rice production, there have been some forecasts there that have been a cause of worry. If you look at the recent news flow, especially around other large exporters of rice other than India. So let's say if you look at Thailand or Vietnam, there have been news of El Nino impact on their crops. So that, and because of a variety of reasons, the rice price have been up on a year-on-year basis.
Right. And with regards to MEP, Ashwani, if you could help me understand, is it already notified or is that something which will be notified once a review is done in October?
Already notified, already. The APIDA has started taking action on that.
Okay, so what happens to contracts or rice which is already sitting on the port where the pricing would be below $1,200? If orders that have been, booked at below $1,200 per ton, what happens to that, Ashwani?
So this has been declared, recently on the weekend. But the understanding we have been given that under they have formed the committee where under the leadership of Chairman APIDA, and they will review that. But uh, we have not had that case, so this is the understanding we had.
Right. Ashish, what at your end, any orders that have already been booked at below $1,200 per ton for exports, and any actions that you're seeing? Because what we are hearing is that all of the orders that have been booked at $1,200 or below have been asked to take us, halt and make revisions there.
Yeah, so this announcement only came in yesterday. We are building clarity on it, so not able to give you full clarity in terms of how such cases will be handled. That's what we know at this point.
Right. And from a market share perspective, Ashwani, do you see any impact coming in from an export perspective?
Can you clarify your question, please?
My question is, from an export market share perspective, do you see any impact coming in?
Uh, for the premium rices, I don't see there will be an impact. So on the parboiled to Iran, we have to see how the government look into the policy on the present representation of the association.
Right. And from a pricing perspective, Ashish, if I have to come to you, how do you see the price trends from here on the back of the additional? Because usually the trends that we've seen is that the moment exports are opened up, we try to match prices of the global markets and the domestic markets as well, and there is a tendency to for prices to go up. In this move, do you see correction happening in terms of rice prices?
By correction, you mean downwards?
Yes,
or
downward correction.
Well, difficult to say. The way we would look at it is that government has set a minimum export price. So to me, that will kind of set the tone for what is the minimum at which that product will sell. But yes, I mean, there will be a demand supply aspect there. So overall, difficult to say right now.
Right. And all this while, what was the minimum export price on an average, or an average export price that rice was getting exported at, just to understand the gap between the $1,200 versus the prevailing prices, Ashish?
Yeah. So if we look at APIDA data, which tracks basmati exports, and we look at the average. So for the month of June, the average realization per ton of basmati exported by India was around $1,100, which after this announcement gets reset to a minimum of $1,200. So the average was 1,100. Now after this, the minimum itself will be set upwards to 1,200.
Okay. So another question basis this data, what comes to my mind, Ashwini, is does this mean that the margins probably will be better? Excuse me.
It's too early to say anything. But as we said that LT is already average price is more than MEP. So yeah. So the new crop is coming. We will see how the prices are opening up, and we need more clarity in this week. The new of the government policy. Only then we will be able to comment on that.
I think a lot more details are actually awaited as well. Thank you, Ashish. Thank you, Ashwani, for joining us on the show. But clearly, MEP of $1,200, as the industry is saying, is already notified. Now, major implications and clarifications are yet awaited, and that's something which one should be watching out for as well. So that's the management of KRBL as well as LT Foods talking to us with regards to the 20% export duty that has been imposed on parboiled rice, as well as the MAP that has been fixed at $1,200 per ton. And that's going to be interesting to watch out for, because this measure is to ensure that rice prices remain under control, taking into consideration the overall inflation, and this will slow down shipments as well. And the fear of lower supplies in the domestic market will be dismissed as well. So that's all that we have in this session. Thanks for watching, and lots more lined up on the other side. Please stay tuned to PQ Prime.